Very cool. Way to go.
Welcome to Banging the Can, the Houston sports show that does not apologize for championship rings and tings, presented by Bolen Media. I am your host, Ross Bolen. And finally, the Astros are coming to a less grueling stretch of their schedule. They got a big 9-2 win over the Athletics last night. Spencer Arrighetti got his first Major League W, which is tight. Alex Bregman continues to show signs of heating up as he cranked not one, but two dingers and a deep double to go with them, racking up 4 RBIs. The Stros are still 2 games back of Oakland in the divisional standings, but we're just going to ignore that for now because this division is not serious. The AL West are not serious, people, to put it in Logan Roy terms. The Astros are still only 6.5 games back after going through a gauntlet with the most difficult schedule in baseball through the first 40 games of the season. So now we're in a 16-game stretch where if this team wants to make up ground, this is the time to do it. This is the time to capitalize. We've got 3 more games against the A's at home, then 3 games against the Milwaukee Brewers at home, then 3 games against the Los Angeles Angels at home, then 3 games on the road against the Athletics, 4 games against the division-leading Mariners in Seattle after that. So if we take care of business in those first 12 games between now and Seattle, we could be in a position to really do some damage in the divisional standings during that Mariners series. And wouldn't that be a treat? Wouldn't that be a yummy little treat for us to eat? Wouldn't we all love a little treat ski to feel all warm in our bellies after the hellacious start to this season? I know I would, can bangers. I know you would too. Yummy in our tummies. Okay, I'll stop. So let's talk about some specifics around how the Astros can turn this season around. I've got ideas that have been brewing up inside my dome, and I'm going to share them with you now. These are some specific things that the Astros could do to turn the 2024 MLB season around. First up, if Alex Bregman continues to rake, that would be an enormous shift for a player who we all know is a leader in the clubhouse and a veteran winner that can set the tone for the entire squad. Breggy bombs are needed. Breggy bombs are wanted. Breggy bombs could change the whole feel of this thing, folks. His salsa may have changed names, but we need Alex Bregman to stay the same as he was during that first game last night against the Oakland Athletics, absolutely destroying the baseball. If Yordan Alvarez can find his power a bit more, break out a bit more, that would also be enormous. He's got 20 RBIs, but that's 9 behind Kyle Tucker. He's got 8 homers, but that's 5 behind Tucker as well. And there's no reason Yordan shouldn't be leading the team in both of those categories because we all know what he's capable of. Not to take away from Kyle Tucker. No disrespect meant. He's having a fantastic season. King Tuck is one of those dudes. But the big man is the big man, and he needs to be doing bigger things. Also, if we could end more baseball games where we have more runs than the opposing team, that would also help the Astros to turn the season around. I did a bunch of research right before coming on the air today, and it turns out that winning baseball games will cause you to climb in the standings. And if you win enough of them, it says you can make something called the postseason where you have a chance to win a big trophy and then everybody on your team gets rings. So I think, personally, that if we can win more baseball games, that will help inevitably turn the season around as well. Then there's Christian Javier, who looked like an absolute shell of himself out there in his first start back from injury. I don't really understand what happened. His velocity was significantly down. Pretty clear. I mean, hindsight is 20/20, but after we saw that, he probably should have had a few minor league starts to get the old arm back to where it once was. Because, my God, he did not look good. Can't have that, obviously. Need Christian Javier at the top of his game to turn this season around. We've had too many injuries, too many issues with starting pitching this season to continue that trend. And on that note, if the Astros could stop giving up multiple runs in the first few innings and then playing the entire game from behind, that would help turn the season around. For the love of God, stop letting the other team jump our asses in the first few frames, and things will go a whole lot better. According to science, I checked. Also, stop choking away leads in the final 2 frames. That would also help if you didn't know. But to jump back to the offensive side of things, like I said, Kyle Tucker is crushing. Crushing. So if Kyle Tucker could continue to do what he's been doing already, that would be fantastic. Tucker, Pena, Mauricio Dubon, these are guys that are doing the things that we want them to do, and if they could just keep doing those things, that would be great. I would really like that. Me personally, I would really like that. Also, John Singleton hitting more John Dingertons and doing absurd bat flips would also help. The vibes are never higher than when John is smashing baseballs over the fence and then flinging the bat away like he was never holding it in the first place. Also, stop leaving runners in scoring position and hit more home runs with runners on base. That would be good. We just don't fucking do that. Ever. And finally, the Astros could turn their season around by not losing so many baseball games. Winning more baseball games than their divisional opponents could also be really big long term. So that's something, that's something to keep an eye on. And if the Astros do all the things I just listed, then folks, they will turn their season around. Now, in the meantime, as a fan, I'm going to share my new viewing strategy for watching games with you now. My new viewing strategy for watching Astros baseball games is this. If we win, no, I'll start with the other side. If we lose, the game didn't matter, and I pretend it never happened. I just erase it from my brain and forget about it and move on with my life as if nothing has occurred. But if we win, I pretend that single game was the single most important sporting event in my lifetime, and I harness the positive vibes of victory. All that positivity, I soak it in, and I apply that to my life, and I recommend you do the same to maintain being sane. You may have noticed these stylish and inarguably attractive and outrageous sunglasses on my face. These are from Goodr, Goodr. And wouldn't you know it, today's episode is brought to you by Goodr. Why Goodr? Because Goodr is making shades that are fun and affordable enough to make you forget your baseball team has been blowing it. Starting at only $25 a pair, Goodr specializes in making no slip, no bounce, all polarized shades that you can do anything in. I've got 3 pairs. These ones on my face are the From Zero to Blitzed. I also have the Save a Bull, Ride a Rodeo Clown, and the Smaller is Baller. Goodr has over 50,000 5-star reviews. Every pair comes with a 1-year warranty plus a 30-day free return policy, and they're a 100% carbon neutral company. They're just gooder than everyone else, unlike the Astros currently. What makes Goodr different? They're 100% polarized and only $25. Because they're so affordable, I never have to worry about losing or breaking them. It's not some disaster, day-ruining nightmare if I accidentally sit on my sunglasses and crush them, and they're pretty damn sturdy as well. They're always releasing new colors and collabs so you can lay low or get wild. The names of their different designs and colorways are hilarious, like the Back 9 Blackout, Flamingos on a Booze Cruise, or Donkey Goggles, just to name a few. They're great for running, cycling, working out, golfing, going to the beach, hiking, or just chilling. Fantastic for your active lifestyle. They're lightweight, stylish. They don't slip off your face. They don't bounce around. Look at me. Look at me moving my head. Look how stable and sturdy they are on my face. I can go fucking crazy with these things on and nothing happens. They just stay where they're supposed to be. It's amazing. If you want to support the show and try a pair, Goodr is giving Can Bangers free shipping with every order. Just go to goodr.com/BTC and use code BTC for free shipping. Goodr offers a 30-day money-back guarantee and 100% satisfaction. Again, that's Goodr.com/BTC. Use code BTC when you check out to make sure you're supporting the show and get free shipping. GOODR.com/BTC. Hit the link in the episode description below and check out all the incredible frames that Goodr has to offer. Please and thank you. In a fairly wild turn of events, the Houston Rockets somehow ended up with the number 3 pick in the NBA draft yet again. I honestly completely forgot the draft lottery was occurring. There's not a lot of hype around this one. I think everybody had like NBA draft hype exhaustion from last season with Wembanyama and the Wembanyama sweepstakes and all that. And that happened. It happened like 2 days ago, yesterday. I'm not sure. Recently. 2 days ago, I think. Earlier this week. Monday, Sunday. Who's to say? But it did occur. And the Rockets somehow ended up with a top 3 pick with the number 3 pick in the NBA draft yet again. Huge shout out to the Brooklyn Nets for being an absolute dumpster fire and making the James Harden trade look amazing by continuing to implode on a season-by-season basis, so we get maximum value as Rockets fans for the multitude of picks that we got from Brooklyn in exchange for James Harden. Shout out to Bill Simmons, who could not have been more wrong about the James Harden trade and about the value that the Rockets extracted from getting rid of James Harden. Shout out to him. Shout out to everybody who doubted. Honestly, I was just so butthurt that Harden was gone that I wasn't really paying attention to what we got back. But it's worked out wonderfully. So we got the number 3 pick in this year's draft. And now the question becomes, obviously, does Rafael Stone, our general manager, trade the number 3 pick in a package for perhaps another difference maker? Or make the pick and add more young talent to this Rockets team that is already, frankly, pretty jam-packed full of it? I mean, you can never have too many young, talented basketball players on your NBA team, but the talent in this year's draft class compared to last is fairly unimpressive. That being said, at number 3, they still might be able to find a guy that they think fits into Ime Udoka's system and can be a contributor on a fairly short-term basis. So I don't really know. Again, I've said it time and time again on this show, but I am not a college basketball talent evaluator. I have no fucking idea how to watch college basketball. And then I can tell you who's a good college basketball player, but I can't tell you if their game is going to translate to the NBA. Obviously, that's a very difficult thing to do. It's why, these general managers get paid what they do and the scouts get paid what they do, because it can be a swing and a miss. It happens all the time. You see guys go in the top 5, top 10 and end up completely flaming out, being a total bust, as we call it. And because the Rockets have so many young dudes, I mean, between Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, Jabari Smith Jr., Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmore, Tari Eason. I mean, there are a bunch of dudes under 25 years old who are still developing, some under 23 years old, who are still developing really, really young. And you've got a little bit of veteran leadership with Fred VanVleet, and, you've got Steven Adams coming in. We expect to see him playing next year. Of course, Dylan Brooks is still there. God knows. I mean, there are a lot of scenarios that could play out here. One that a lot of people are starting to root for because his contract is kind of garbage is packaging the number 3 pick with Dylan Brooks to some other team to get, a star back or a potential star back in return. Mikal Bridges' name is being thrown around a lot. I don't really know about all that. I'm not going to claim to have watched Bridges play much basketball. I don't know a whole lot about the dude. I'm just telling you what's out there on the internets, on the interwebs. That's being discussed as a possibility. But Rafael Stone has a lot of options. I believe him and Ime Udoka went to dinner on Monday night, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been Sunday night, to kind of discuss where they're at, what they think about having the number 3 pick. Ime was there at the draft lottery as our representation. He looked completely unfazed by receiving the number 3 pick. Absolutely zero change in emotion on his face. Haven't seen anything in the way of what he's said since then, but I have to imagine they're playing it pretty close to the chest in terms of what their thoughts are on what they'll do with the pick or not do with the pick. And, personally, I think it makes sense to package it up and get rid of it. I don't think, look, the team has shown signs of being ready to move past the rebuilding phase, right? Bringing in veterans, getting 40 wins last year, nearly making the postseason in the form of the play-in tournament. All of our expectations are that we make the postseason next year. I think we saw enough from Jalen Green. We've seen more than enough from Alperen Şengün. Jabari Smith Jr. has shown how solid he can be when he's really locked in. Amen Thompson could be one of the best defenders in the NBA soon. We've got a ton of young talent, a ton of explosive athleticism to go with some fairly good defenders and some enforcers, and they've got a good stew going, a good mix in this pot that they're cooking up. And I just don't know if it makes sense. Like, it's going to depend who's available and what they could get in exchange for the pick, but I don't know if it makes sense to, like, add another fucking 18, 19, 20-year-old kid that's not going to really be able to do anything. Like, if you're trying to make a push, make a push. So those are my thoughts. Again, I don't know enough about college basketball talent to tell you one way or the other what makes sense, but that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. I don't think we need another number 3 pick. We've had how many fucking top 3 picks in the past 4 years? This is ridiculous. I can't believe we got another one. It's insane. And on that note, I want to say, going through and looking at the picks that Rafael Stone has made in the past few drafts, he's done a pretty solid job. I have expressed repeatedly that I have doubts about this guy and his ability to be a championship contending general manager. And I'm going to park that for now. I'm going to stop hating on Raf for now. See how this next season plays out. But based on the results of this most recent season, a lot of which you could probably attribute to Ime Udoka, but what Udoka has been able to do with the personnel that Rafael Stone has put together, I'm going to stop hating on Mr. Stone. I'm just going to say that now. You're not going to hear any more negativity out of my mouth in regard to Rafael Stone until he gives me a reason, until they, hopefully this doesn't happen, but if they fall flat on their faces, that's another story. But he's done enough, I think. He's done a more than decent job at accumulating top tier or close to top tier young NBA talent. He's made some questionable moves in terms of veterans that he's brought in. I'm still very curious to see how Steven Adams plays out. Like, Steven Adams is not a young guy anymore, right? I'm looking up how old he is. He's 30. Okay, he's still pretty fucking young. Damn. I'm 36, so I can't call 30 years old. I can't call 30-year-olds old. But the Dylan Brooks thing, it looks bad. All that being said, I'm going to be positive about Rafael Stone right now. I'm happy about where the Rockets are at. I feel good about things. I feel really good about things. Not as good as I feel about the Texans. Not as bad as I feel about the Astros. I feel good, though. I feel good, and I'm excited for the next NBA season. I'm excited to see what they do with this number 3 pick. It's been a while since we've been in this position where we didn't really know if we needed to make a pick at number 3 or if we could perhaps package it up and get some other shit. So that's fun. That's fun for Rockets fans. It gives us something to cling on to this offseason because there's not, right now it's like we saw what we saw. Growth occurred. Progress occurred on a massive scale. Big steps forward that we didn't quite think we would be at this level yet, and here we are. So now we wait and see. Speaking of waiting and seeing, tomorrow, Wednesday, May 15th, the Houston Texans schedule release will occur. So we will find out. This is from HoustonTexans.com, which I've got pulled up here. It says, we'll find out the Texans schedule tomorrow night. The NFL unveils the 2024 regular season schedule on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. So 7 p.m. Wednesday, May 15th. It says, here's what we know for sure. Houston will not play the Cowboys, Browns, Chiefs, Ravens, Packers, or Jets in week 1 because those games, all those teams and their first week games have been announced. Kansas City hosts Baltimore in the season opener on Thursday Night Football, which I believe is maybe on Amazon Prime. I could be wrong there. Packers play the next night in Brazil versus Philadelphia. I still can't believe... Wait, Packers, where are the Jets at? Oh, Jets open up Sunday Night Football versus the Niners in Northern California. Dallas opens at Cleveland on Sunday on Fox. It'll be the first game Tom Brady is a color commentator. If you have not watched The Roast of Tom Brady, I highly recommend it. It's very funny. It's on Netflix. It's also like the length of an award show for some reason. It's like 4 fucking hours long. I'm having to watch it in like 4 different sittings. Anyway, we'll see the Texans schedule finalized tomorrow night. And this is like I've spent a lot of time thinking about the way the NFL rolls out the schedule, how big of a deal they make it into, how many weeks of like build up and hype and how much talk on ESPN. It's completely absurd. And a lot of that is for season ticket holders because like when I was a season ticket holder of the Texans, which I was for 6 or 7 years back in the Matt Schaub, Gary Kubiak era with Arian Foster and J.J. Watt's early days and Andre Johnson, even D-Hop when he came in, you really look forward to schedule release day. You really look forward to the day that first you find out all your opponents, which we obviously already did. Next, you find out which games are going to be home, which games are going to be away, and when they're going to be, what days, what time slots, how many primetime games are you going to get. And like this is the most hyped schedule release for the Texans in the history of the team, by far. We all know we're going to have a lot of good games. We all know we're going to play a lot of good teams. We all know that we're going to have a lot of primetime games, probably potentially more primetime games than we've ever had as a franchise. And that's all very, very exciting. So this is like really the most exciting schedule release for non-season ticket holders in the history of the Houston Texans franchise. So I'm very, very excited to see. I mean, it's been years since I gave a shit about what the schedule shook out like. And this year I'm actually locked in to find out. So that'll be cool. Quick shout out to Bree for hooking me up with parking at Minute Maid. I meant to say this last week when I was giving a shout out to Coach Graham for hooking me up with the Diamond Club tickets that I ended up getting. We also got free parking. The can bangers are everywhere. And they took really good care of me while I was in Houston, getting to attend that game with my parents, with my wife, with my kids. It means a lot to me. Thank you, Bree, for taking care of us with the parking. Respect. And that will do it for today's show. Remember, every episode of Banging the Can is available on all the major podcast platforms. And also, you can watch full episodes on youtube.com/@bangingthecan. Shout out to everybody who's watching on YouTube right now. I appreciate you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give me a like. Throw some comments below. Tell me what you think about what we talked about on today's show. And frankly, even if you don't want to watch, if you're just listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever else we're available, go to youtube.com/@bangingthecan and just subscribe really quickly. It helps out so we can continue to grow the show. And on that note, please share the most unapologetic Houston sports show in existence with your friends and family. Tell all your Houston sports friends that Banging the Can is a thing, that we exist. Word of mouth is the number one way for us to grow. We try to do what we can on social media, and we have fun on there, and we try to put clips out for y'all on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and whatnot. But you telling people is the best way to make sure that this show continues to exist into the future. So I would appreciate those of you who do share Banging the Can with your friends and your family. Follow us on all those social media platforms I just named, by the way, at Banging the Can on TikTok and on Instagram and on X, formerly known as Twitter. Also, Threads, if you're one of those people, at Banging the Can. Support our sponsors. Today we had Gooder.com/BTC. Remember, links, codes, details for sponsors on every episode are always in the description of the episode below, whether you're on YouTube or on the podcast platforms. Hit the links, use the codes, do your thing. Check out the rest of the shows we have here at Bolen Media. You can go to bolenmedia.com to see the company on the whole, but I've got a comedy show. We also talk about mental health, crazy headlines, and sometimes serious life stuff on the Ross Bolen podcast, available wherever you get Banging the Can. If you're an F1 fan, we've got Formula Bone. If you're watching on YouTube, go to youtube.com/@FormulaBone after this and subscribe for some of the best F1 content in all of the world. Jared J-Bone Borislow is now, I think, officially the largest American F1 influencer in the whole space. So that's another Bolen Media property right there. If you love F1, you will love Formula Bone. It's also available on all the audio podcast platforms. Follow at Formula Bone on social media. Go subscribe on youtube.com/@FormulaBone. And of course, if you are watching House of the Dragon and looking forward to Season 2 premiering on June 16th, I host another podcast called Oysters, Clams, and Cockles. It's a Game of Thrones joke if you're wondering why the hell the name of the show is Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, but I host it with another Houstonian, born and bred Houston guy, Barrett Dudley, and we will be breaking down, discussing, making fun of, and enjoying every single episode of House of the Dragon on Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, which is also available wherever you get Banging the Can. I am Ross Bolen. You can follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram at WRBolen. I'll be back next week. Maybe later this week. We'll see how it goes, but I've got a lot of shit to do, so it might not be till next week. But next show, we will certainly discuss the Texans' schedule a little bit and see what we've got in store at old NRG. That's a different energy company. NRG Stadium this season, where I will definitely try to be making at least a couple of games. Got to take next step. Got the kids to an Astros game. Got to get them to a Texans game next. If you happen to be listening and have a hookup for some outrageous, extremely expensive section of the stadium that I can't afford, I'm more than happy to hear you out. As always, I'll be back next week. Until next time, H-Town, stay down.